salt, and uric acid. The good news is they are the most easily preventable of all of the stones human beings can form. So once we get you past this acute event, there's a really good opportunity to make sure this doesn't happen again. So that's excellent. But for this stone event in late August, any other kidney problems as far as you know?
No.
And do you personally have high blood pressure?
I'm sorry?
Do you personally, as opposed to anyone else in the family, do you have high blood pressure?
No, so I know the blood pressure reading I gave you today was a little high, but I'm as healthy as they come. I guess I was moving around, and that's why that blood pressure reading was high. But, for example, last week it was like 125/85.
Perfect. And as far as you're aware, in all of the medical visits that you've had since August and any routine medical care that you may have had before then, best that you know your pressure's always been fine.
Yes.
Good. Okay. And apart from this kidney stone, any other active medical problems for which you see a physician or take medications?
No.
And other than the lithotripsy, any surgical operation in your lifetime?
No, other than just removing my wisdom teeth.
Allergic to drugs to your knowledge?
No.
Ever receive any blood transfusions?
No.
As of today, Mr. Reyes, how much do you weigh?
175.
And what's the least that you've weighed in your adult life?
Good question. 154. That was back in college.
And what's the most that you've ever weighed?
198.
On any special diet at the present time?
No, just I've been experimenting. I thought that this stone came from the high protein diet that I was on. So I've been eating less protein and a little bit more carbs. But that hasn't went well because I kind of gained a little bit of weight. So I kind of went back to having a balanced diet.
And we'll talk about diet here because that's going to be a big part of stone prevention. The issue about protein in general, for all kinds of stones, for all stone formers, there's some general risk factors for stones. If you're obese, that's a risk factor. If you're on a very high salt diet, that's a risk factor. We'll figure that out. Very high protein diets increase your risk of stone disease of any kind. And if that high protein includes a lot of foods that end up being metabolized to uric acid, shellfish, red meats, red wine, that throttles up that risk a little bit more. So what we understand is weight management's important in stone prevention. We'll talk about the reasons behind your dietary choices, and we'll do our best to meet whatever those needs may be. I'm sure there's a way to do that. But it may be true that a very high protein diet, in fact, increases the risk or your risk for this uric acid stone. Any regular
Doctor. Repeat, please.
Any regular exercise?
Oh, yeah.
Tell me about that.
Okay. I'm into weightlifting, so I do that 4 times a week. And then as far as the other portion of working out, I do cardio at least 5 to 6 times a week. So I run about a mile and a half each day.
The weight training.
Uh-huh.
How long is each session? 4 times a week?
I would say about maybe an hour average.
And the weight training that you're doing, is this gentle, progressive, incremental weight training, powerlifting? Give me a sense of what you're doing.
I would say powerlifting, yeah.
So bench press, how much? Deadlift, how much?
So when I was weighing about 198, doctor, I was able to bench press 330. And then when I went down in weight, in February of this year, I was weighing 176 and I bench pressed 315.
Okay. So you and I can agree that we want to be very respectful of the nutritional requirements of someone who's doing that kind of heavy lifting. And whatever we do to solve the stone problem can't ignore what your body's going to require to be able to move that kind of weight. So that will take into full and proper account, no problem. And your 4 times a week, this is a fairly traditional, there's an upper body day, a lower body day, a core day. Okay. In the course of your weight training, is there any form of vitamins, supplement, protein powder, anything that you're using in support of that exercise program?
Okay, vitamins, no. The only thing I was taking was the protein supplement, whey and casein.
How many grams?
Ugh. So 1 scoop would be about 25. I have it right here.
Okay.
On the safe side. Okay, so the whey was 24 grams, and then the casein was 25.
And you were doing that roughly 50 grams of protein once a day?
No, I was doing more.
Doing more.
Yeah.
Okay. So here, and I think it's important to separate science from locker room chatter. Locker room chatter take you down some very dangerous rabbit holes. The science here is that a physically active 40-year-old guy, let's take the weight training out of the conversation for a second, but just a physically active 40-year-old guy generally requires somewhere between 0.8 and 1 gram of protein per kilo lean body weight. And you would be at about 40 kilos. So you're looking for somewhere in the neighborhood of 40, 50 grams of protein a day without the weight training. With the weight training, fair to say, a little more protein is prudent. But here's what we know. Gang feeding a person does not increase your strength, endurance, your ability to bulk up. None of those things are true. Now, there are certain professional athletes whose caloric consumption is stunning, but they're training 6-7 hours a day every day. That's not you. And so for you, I would say topping out at 60, 70 grams of protein max, all in, foods, supplements, that's probably sufficient to support this weight training program of an hour of heavy lifting 4 times. And what I think you'll find is that ultimately, the older the gym rat gets, the more credible this becomes. But generally, it's more about work than what you're swallowing. If you're well nourished, fundamentally, the creatine and the fat burners, the protein powders, they turn out not to contribute very much. The one thing you know about the human body is that it takes signals from whole food as to what to do with what you've swallowed. So, for example, if you eat a piece of salmon or a pork chop, there's more than just protein in that whole food product. And the other things that are in there, as you digest it, tell your body what to do with the protein. When you take 50 grams of protein powder, all those signals are missing. Your body's not exactly sure what to do with all of that. And there are many examples of where whole food provide a greater nutritional benefit than elemental foods. So we know that unsalted nuts, for example, peanuts, walnuts, almonds, fabulously healthy foods. Lower your risk of heart disease. It's all protein and good fat. You can drink all the peanut oil you want, doesn't do anything for you. We've learned that with calcium in the prevention of osteoporosis in women. Eating foods that are rich in calcium are much more effective than calcium pills. So here my advice to you is, I would dial back the protein powder. It's not as valuable as you think. Replace the protein powder with whole foods that are relatively protein dense in reasonable portion. And my guess is you'll find that your ability in the gym doesn't change. Might even get a little better. The one thing that we do know is that of all of the supplements that have ever been studied, the only two that ever have any benefit, caffeine and maybe creatine. So a cup of coffee before you go to the gym probably is a good idea. Other than that, especially now that we understand you're a stone former, high protein intake not only accrues to the peril of more stone, it doesn't really help what you're doing in the gym. So at that intersection, I would say you're aiming 70, 80 grams of protein a day. And over a month or two, and we'll be talking to each other regularly you'll let me know whether your ability to move weight changes. My guess is not at all.
Yeah, no, doctor, let me tell you, this whole thing has been life-changing. When I got that stone, I did a lot of research, and, I hate to alarm you, but I was up like around taking 220 grams of protein.
Yeah, and I have to say, I've got plenty of patients who are young, generally in their 20s and 30s, who have acquired that either in social media or in the locker room. There is no science to support it, but I appreciate how that message can get circulated. And it may be that that was a big driver. How long were you on that much protein a day?
Easily, like the last 15 years.
15 years. So, good news and bad news. It is probably true that that didn't damage your kidneys in any way, but it is also probably true that your accomplishments in the gym would have been exactly the same at 90 grams compared to 200 and some. Consuming that much protein is more for your head than for your muscle.
Now, what's interesting, doctor, to tell you a little bit about myself, I got a degree, a Bachelor of Science in Biology, and I'm a personal trainer. So in regards to the health aspect, I totally get it. Something that was news to me, the reason I was taking so many grams of protein, because, it was understood that you had to take 1 gram per body pound. And then, you told me now it's a gram per kilogram. So that's a huge difference.
It is.
And the reason that this has been life-changing for me as I study, let me tell you something, doctor. It doesn't matter if you could bench 500 pounds, but if your kidney is screwed up, because that, from the bottom of my heart, doctor, what scared me. If your kidney's screwed up, guess what? No gym for you. So ultimately, I'm totally aware of the benefits of whole food. Make a long story short, the reason I would go with these supplements, because it's fast. I have Isopure here. Are you familiar with Isopure?
I am.
So one of those drinks, my mother. Yeah, so one of those drinks, 40 grams of protein. So I would take that in the morning, and then the other thing too, what I would do is, to replace, if I got hungry, I would take a protein snack. But all that excess protein is not good. I'm a firm believer of what you said about having a balanced portion meal. By you telling me this, and if you give me the green light, once I get back to the gym, I totally stopped lifting. I'm just going to eat regular food. Actually, like I was telling you before, I'm going to err more on the sides of eating more carbs, just be on the safe side. Bananas, apples, and in case of an emergency, if I'm going long hours without eating, then I'll pick up a protein bar, but that's going to be my last resort, doctor.
Yeah, I think that sounds fine. And we can certainly articulate the ideal diet as we go along, based on urine chemistries and other probes available to us to figure out exactly what's best. I do think that the protein bars, when you deconstruct what's in them, probably not a great idea. You're better off keeping a bag of peanuts in the car and resorting to a whole food as an appetite suppressant if you're desperate, rather than the protein bars. Mother Nature, ultimately, smarter than all. And as a trainer, I think that your awareness, and if you've been doing this a long time, you clearly, Dan, that you need to define your fitness objectives and then work around. So if your fitness objective, and this is a hypothetical, I'm not suggesting this is you, if your fitness objective is to compete, well, that's one set of expectations, nutritional requirements, training demands. If your fitness objective is to be lean and strong and to be able to participate in resistance weight training aggressively and generally without getting hurt, that's a different program. And that has different nutritional requirements and different demands. So I think, and certainly as you move from 40 to 50, you just want to recalibrate, and you may have already done this, Matt. I don't mean to suggest that it isn't on your radar screen, but you really want to think, what do I want to get from my own exercise plan? And what do I need in order to get there? And I think that's a mistake. You've probably seen it more than I have. People walk in the gym without a fitness objective, and they just start doing things. If you have a fitness objective of weight management, blood pressure reduction, blood sugar management, and reduction in cardiovascular risk, there's a program for you, which does not involve bench pressing 300 pounds. If your fitness objective is, look, I'm a young guy, I'm a player, I want to look like a player, that's important to me, well, you don't need to spend 2 hours on the elliptical. It's a different plan for you. And I think that even as a stone former, once I understand what your fitness objectives are, I can build everything medical around that to keep you safe from recurrent stones without threatening your ability to achieve everything that you want to do in the gym, which, quite frankly, is exceptionally important. And nothing should, if at all possible. Okay, excellent. Now, currently, let's talk about your life environment. Currently married?
I'm sorry?
Currently married?
Separated.
Separated.
Oh, doctor, one more thing about my physical activities that I didn't tell you. So, Tuesday through Friday, I would spend like about an hour in the gym. But on Monday was like my heavy active day. So, I would play like an extra hour of basketball. And then either on Thursday or Friday, I would do an hour of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So that's the only thing I just wanted to add of my activities.
Okay, great. I rarely make personal disclosures. Before COVID, my usual workout was 7 hours long. I would get to the gym, 5 hours of weight training, an hour and a half of cardio, half hour of cool down. I would do it twice a week. And I will tell you, from experience, it really didn't matter what the hell I ate. It mattered that I paid attention, that I had exceptionally good form, and that I adjusted the fitness plan year to year based on physical ability. Because the body changes over time. So what you can do at 20 is different from what you can and should do at 40, and that moves. So you just want to make sure what you're doing is moving. But I have the highest respect for somebody that's in the gym every day. And I think dispelling the rumors about what makes you a better athlete in the gym and fortifying your fit objective program with the right nutritional plan, you're my guy. I think that's fabulous.
Thank you.
So currently separated. Kids?
Yes.
How many?
2 daughters, twin daughters.
Twin daughters. How old?
3 years old.
Okay, good. And do you smoke cigarettes?
No.
Have you ever smoked regularly?
Never.
Alcohol?
I used to drink socially, like on the weekends last year. And then this year, no. I stopped drinking.
Good.
Unless, I go out or something.
Yeah, I have to say what I found about alcohol, it impairs sleep for many people. And it was much more difficult to work out hungover than not hungover.
Yeah.
Any recreational drugs?
Absolutely not.
And caffeine, coffee, tea, cola?
Coffee and tea.
And here I want you to regard coffee as your friend. Caffeine is a mild diuretic, so it increases urine volume. That's good. And the caffeine before you work out generally gives you a little extra juice in that first 20, 30 minutes, so that's good. Whereabouts were you born?
In Jersey City?
Lived in Jersey your whole life?
Yes.
My kind of guy. Personal training is your primary profession?
No, I work as a food inspector for U.S. Customs.
I like your side hustle better.
That was my first love.
Any military service?
No.
Let's talk about your family a little bit. Are your parents living?
No, my father died in 2006.
From what did he die?
Liver failure.
And was that viral hepatitis, alcohol, or something unknown?
It was something unknown in the sense that he had a blood transfusion, and I think he contracted hepatitis, the one that affects the liver.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
And your mom?
She's living. Thank
And
God.
does she have active medical problems best that you know?
Diabetes. And an undiagnosed sleep apnea, which I'm very worried about, which I think led to her diabetes.
Gotcha. Do you have any brothers or sisters?
I do.
How many?
One brother, one sister.
Do they have any active medical problems best that you know?
My sister had some ulcers. I don't know if she cured it. She has some ulcers in her throat. And my brother is having some issues. I think he's pre-diabetic, but I don't know what the current status is of that, if it's confirmed or not.
As far as you know, have either your parents or either of your siblings ever had kidney stones?
No.
You're the man.
Yeah.
All right. As of today, how do you feel?
Fine. Sometimes, if I don't go to the bathroom real quick, I'll urinate some blood, but that's about it.
You still have a stent in place?
I do.
Okay, so once the stent comes out, that'll get better. Here's the thing to know about uric acid stones. Number one, for any kind of stone, any kind, calcium oxalate, phosphate, uric acid, the greater the volume of urine, the lower the risk. So think with me here. If you have a cup of coffee and you put 2 tablespoons of sugar in that cup of coffee, it sediments to the bottom. The cup of coffee can't hold all of the sugar in solution. If you take 3 gallons of coffee, put 2 tablespoons of sugar in, it dissolves, it's gone. Same is true in the urine. The greater the volume of urine, the more any stone-forming mineral can dissolve, and so the lower the risk of stone disease. For uric acid, here's the magic. We know that uric acid stones are orders of magnitude more likely to form in an acid urine compared to an alkaline urine. Solubility of uric acid goes up about 1,000-fold in urine, which means a person who is forming uric acid stones, if he or she maintains an alkaline urine, fundamentally any stone that might start to form dissolves before it gets big enough to be a troublemaker. There are several ways to alkalinize the urine. One is an understanding that certain foods alkalinize the urine, certain foods acidify the urine. Animal protein acidifies the urine because there are certain acids generated in the metabolism of animal protein that can't be blown off as dioxide. Fruits and vegetables generate an alkaline urine. So a diet that tilts towards fruits and vegetables more likely to be alkaline than a diet that tilts toward protein. One of the many reasons why high protein diets increases the risk of stone disease. It makes the urine real. It is also fairly straightforward and easy to alkalinize the urine with supplements. Sodium bicarbonate is one. And I think you're taking some sodium bicarb currently. Potassium citrate is another. And there are combinations of those. And the objective there is simply to find the amount and the timing of those alkalinizing supplements to keep the urine consistently alkaline. You may remember from chemistry that we measure acidity on the pH scale. 7 being neutral, above 7 is alkaline, below 7 is acidic. The goal here is to maintain that urine pH between 7 and 7.5 all the time. It is easy to check urine pH. There are dipsticks that measure pH. Fundamentally, these are litmus papers. You may remember from high school chemistry litmus. So this is like a litmus paper where a plastic strip, there's a little square of reagent-embedded paper. And you take the strip, you hold it in the urinary stream for a couple of seconds, and it changes color according to the pH of the urine. Something you can easily do at home. These dipsticks are about $5-6 per 100, available on the internet, on Amazon. And I'm going to ask you to get those and to do that, because the most important thing that we need to do is to keep your urine up above 2.5 liters a day, and to keep that urine all the time. And if we succeed in that, the odds of you forming another uric acid stone are close to zero. The biggest window of risk is first thing in the morning, because it's the longest period. If you've been asleep all night, or you have had nothing to eat or drink. So the urine is at its most acidic and concentrated in the early morning. I'm going to ask you to take some extra bicarb when you go to bed. And as long as that early morning urine is above 7, and we'll check a few later in the day for a while, then this is a very treatable problem.
Okay.
Questions so far?
No.
I'm going to send to you a kit to collect your urine for 24 hours, 2 days in a row. And that's going to tell me everything that I need to know about your urine chemistry, including the amount of uric acid, but other issues that may be relevant in diet construction also. There's some blood tests that are important to me. I can send you a prescription. You're welcome to have those done at a LabCorp in Jersey City, make life easy. And then we can arrange in-office follow-up in about 6 weeks. We'll have the 24-hour urines completed by then, and we can go forward to structure the long-term surveillance plan once that stent is out.
Okay.
Anything else I can do for you?
No, so then in regards to getting the litmus test that you were telling me about, should I go ahead and order it through Amazon?
Absolutely.
Okay. And I remember this, like you said, from actually my college days when we were doing this. So any pH test in particular I should get?
When you go to Amazon and you search for urine pH dipstick, it's going to come up with a bunch of these. They're all equivalent. They're all equally good. They usually come in a bottle with 100 dipsticks, $6-7, somewhere in that neighborhood.
And then from what I gathered, you said that you want my urine to be above 7?
Ideally, it should stay between 7 and 7.5 all the time. That's the goal.
All right. And any other data in regards to the urine test I should know about?
That's the only one that really matters here. From time to time, we'll do these 24-hour urines. Since these are pure uric acid stones, it probably won't be very often. Once the stent is out and the bleeding stops, there shouldn't be a whole lot in the urine other than pH that matters. Keep in mind that goal of 2.5 liters
2.5 liters
urine a day. So that usually translates to 3 liters of water, seltzer, all fluid counts, coffee.
Okay. And then, doctor, the other thing I noticed about my urine, it's also foamy as well.
With the stent in there, it's hard to know what that means.
Got it.
The foam may you've had no other renal disease. There's no reason to suspect that there is medical trouble percolating there. When we connect, I'll have some more data around that. The labs that I'll ask you to get in Jersey City will include urine examinations around things that could cause foaming in the urine. It would surprise me if that's abnormal.
Okay. So from what you gathered, doctor, my kidneys, I know you haven't done any tests on my kidneys, but from what you're looking at, it looks okay?
Well, kidney function is a blood test. I don't have any of those, and that's what I'll be asking you to get in Jersey City.
Okay.
Anatomically, from what I can glean from the imaging studies Dr. Giannis has done, they look structurally intact and normal.
Okay. And then anything I should eat or any foods I should stay away from?
I would stay away from foods that are known to cause a lot of uric acid, which is primarily shellfish, shrimp, lobster, red meats, red wine.
Okay. Nah, I don't eat that.
Let's retire the protein powder. And in any given meal, you want to tilt more toward fruit and vegetable than protein.
Okay. And I've been eating this yogurt that has 15 grams of protein at night. Is that good or bad?
Regular yogurt is fine. I don't know that I'd go with protein fortified yogurt. Just regular yogurt.
Okay. All right. All right, doctor. So in regards to the prescription, I guess I'm going to get that through an email or postal mail?
I wish we could do it by email, but because of all of the privacy concerns, I'm going to print it and I'm going to mail it to you by regular mail.
Okay. And your office has my new address, the Jersey City address?
Let's see what we know here. We have you at 72A Romaine.
Yeah.
O Reyes 321 at AOL.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. And great. That's all great. Any questions or problems between now and the next time we connect, please feel free to call. I will get over the insane jealousy of bench pressing 315 pounds. And how are you managing the weight training with COVID?
I stopped.
And I'm sure there's a pretty miserable withdrawal attached to that.
Yeah.
When you go back, and obviously there will come a time when you go back, just be careful. Your brain is going to be thinking, I've got this, but it's going to take a month or two to really build back all of that strength that you had when you walked in.
Yeah, no, I know I have to be patient with this. I mean, it's been 9 months, so, there are bigger things. As a matter of fact, right now I'm on quarantine because I was exposed to someone that had coronavirus Saturday night, so it's all about putting things in perspective. So life's not a race, it's a marathon.
All of that is very true. So, Reza, it was a pleasure seeing you this morning. I am sure we can do good things about preventing any other stones. I will send Dr. Giannis a full report, and I'll have the guys reach out to you by phone when we're done, set up our follow-up.
Thank you so much, doctor.
Pleasure. Good to see you.
Likewise.
Bye.
Bye-bye.